Attention, culture consumers. Join me, the queen of queries, Sarah O'Connor, and my band of nerdy knights.
Colleen McMillan.
Flo Siegel.
And Anders Drew.
On Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms, especially that Star Wars galaxy far, far away. Listen each week as we examine the stories that mean so much to us. Bohemian Geek Studies is available wherever you get your podcasts and is proudly part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Hey, it's Andrew Morgan, host of the Nomcast, the Netflix original movie podcast. Each week, we preview and review the biggest Netflix original movies with special guests from the film industry, the music industry, comedians, and of course, our fellow critics and podcasters. The Nomcast is available on nomcastpod.com or wherever you get your podcasts, on the socials at nomcastpod, and is a part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the park.
This is an official activation of the emergency broadcast system. At this time, you are advised to tune to station 640 or 1280 for further updates and information. This is not a test. This station will now cease transmission.
Every episode we do is just a lead up to Forgotten.
She clearly stirred her coffee with her glasses. I was like, what are you doing?
This is not jazz, dude.
Oh,
they eat it like a jam.
Like motorboarding the Nets.
Yeah. Keep it spooky, y'all. Hello, I'm Mike Butler.
And I'm Mike Field.
And you're now entering the world of the macabre, where no one will save you as you bleed out all over the ground. Welcome to Forgotten Horror. Each episode, we'll discuss a film that was forgotten by audiences. Perhaps they were too busy running from feral vampires on the snowy tundra. Maybe they accidentally drank a vial of slime and became Satan personified. Or maybe they're just having nightmares after reading a few good books. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or maybe don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you're not too scared of our podcast, like Jessica, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us,
or we'll find you.
Our podcast is available on all platforms for your listening displeasure. That's a very Tales from the Crypt type joke at the end there you put it.
Well, you know, maybe some people don't like us.
That's what I feel like it needs at the end.
Well, if our
Crypt Keeper laugh.
If our boosted ad is anything to, we're a lot of people, a lot of haters out there, but shut them down.
That's not forgotten.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know they don't listen to us. That's fine. But it's just like, shut up. It's like, I get it. I said it. My first thing is like, it's all relative. It's relative. But you know what? I don't want to complain about haters because they suck. Let's talk about. So, yes, we are kicking off our Forgotten Horror season, our third annual. This is Butler's favorite time of the podcast year.
Oh,
I guess.
yeah.
Which is probably why he's very lacking in the other episodes that he does, but he's, more on point in these, right? Is there
every episode we do is just a lead up to Forgotten Horror. I'm just biding my time.
It's funny because I think last year we did Mr. Brooks before Forgotten Horror.
We did. It was kind of like our build up. Yeah.
And this year we did Citizen X, which is almost like the kind of like.
It's true. Yeah.
So yeah, we do have kind of like a lead up to it. So that is interesting.
Because you're starting to feel spooky. Is that why?
In August? Absolutely.
In what is it, 100 degrees outside right now?
I know. Right now it's really hot. Right now it's really hot. But when you're listening to this, it's the beginning of October. It's the Halloween holiday season.
It's getting crisp.
It is. It's time for, hopefully, a variance aside, it's time for fall festivals. It's time for all that good stuff. Candied apples and I don't know.
I'm going to eat pumpkin versions of everything. I am that basic.
Butler's gaining weight this season. You're going to have pumpkin ramen. Did you see that? You said that to me. Yeah, you're going to have pumpkin ramen?
I'll give it a try.
No, when didn't they give it a try? Ew.
Like pumpkin squash soup, kind of? I don't know.
No. Pumpkin ramen? No,
I had the pumpkin seltzer, which I didn't think was going to be good, and I liked that.
That's different though. That's a flavor. That's like a hint of flavor. That's not like you. Come on.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, well, you don't know, but when you eat the ramen, there's chunks of pumpkin floating up. You'll be like,
well,
no,
no,
exactly. We've sickened our audience. All right, so yes, let's kick it off. We are doing Prince of Darkness. I'm going to give you the synopsis, and then we'll get into the facts. And yeah, I guess I should call it John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, because that is what it's known as when you watch it on the TV. All right, so poking around in a church cellar. Not really true. A priest finds an otherworldly vial filled with slime. It's a rather big vial, if you're going to call it a vial. Frightened, he brings his discovery to a circle of top scholars and scientists. He takes it to a graduate school and his teacher and their classmates, who eventually learn that the strange liquid is the essence of Satan. Incorrect. The slime then begins to seep out and turning some of the academics into zombified killers. As the possessed battle the survivors, student Kelly is infected by a large quantity of the liquid and becomes Satan personified. Incorrect. The slime is actually the son of Satan, not Satan.
Right.
So immediately, and I know that in our opening, I have Satan personified.
Yeah.
But I kept it there because it was so wrong. And I was just like, who cares? Who cares? But did this person watch this movie? Like who did
they half watched this movie.
Yeah, maybe we're on their phone while they're watching it. All right.
Like, get to the killing. I don't get the story.
So we'll get into it. Prince of Darkness has a runtime of 102 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $3 million. Had a release date of Friday, October 23rd, 1987. You were not born yet, or you were just born? I can't remember if it's 87 or 88, your birthday year.
I was born in 87.
So you were probably 5 months old when this came out.
Woo!
I was, let's do the math, 12.
Yes, you are 12 years old.
Opening week.
You were also not watching this movie.
No. Opening weekend, it did $4.6 million, and domestic and worldwide are the same. It did $14 million total, which is pretty good for a $3 million investment.
That's why they keep making cheap horror movies.
We'll get into that. Production company is Alive Films and Larry Franco Productions, and it's distributed by Universal Pictures. So it came out on the 23rd of October. It went up against Suspect in a wide release. And then a couple limited releases. You had No Man's Land, The Glass Menagerie. Did I say that right?
Menagerie?
Yes. Menagerie, excuse me, which is directed by Paul Newman. And Night Flyers. Not the Night Flyers that was on Sci-Fi, the George R.R. Martin movie, or the TV series, but the first time they tried to do this, the Night Flyers. You ever saw that on Sci-Fi?
I've never saw that on Sci-Fi.
He came out after like Game of Thrones. They had another, I don't know if it was Sci-Fi, but it's the same thing.
I heard of it. Okay, yep. Okay.
It's basically the same thing. On the 30th of October, which is obviously right before Halloween, you had Fatal Beauty, The Hidden, which is kind of a horror movie, and Baby Boom. The Hidden is it's kind of like, what was the name of the movie with Denzel Washington and John Goodman where the dead guy, the spirits passing through people, the
serial killer keeps jumping to
different people and inhabiting their bodies. That's what The Hidden is.
I kind of wanted to put that on the list though.
Yeah, that's what The Hidden is. Okay, that's exactly. And Kyle MacLachlan's in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, put the Hidden on the list.
Oh, come on. So October 16th, you had the week before you had Prom Night 2, but it's actually called Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2. I don't know why we decided to change the name of it because the first title is fine, but it pretty much doesn't have a lot to do with the first one. Have you seen any of the Prom Nights?
I saw the first Prom Night.
Yeah, this is kind of like a different, I don't really think it connects to that one. To the Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not sure because it's been such a long time since I've seen both of them.
Gotcha.
Limited release, you had House of Games, which is an awesome David Mamet movie. It had Weeds, Hope and Glory, and Barfly. So those you had. I think we've talked about this before in the 80s and 70s, maybe not till really the late 80s, early 90s, where you start getting more wider releases. A lot of stuff came out limited to start, and then now everything just comes out wide if they think it's gonna make some money.
Right.
So we talked about it's written and directed by John Carpenter. It's actually also written by Martin Quatermass, which is actually John Carpenter's pseudonym for this.
Oh, is that okay?
Yes.
Because when I was on IMDb, it goes with John Carpenter, but the title of the movie, I was like, so he didn't write this movie.
So he used that credit because it's an homage to Professor Bernard Quatermass, the lead character of the Quatermass Experiment, which is an older show. It's an influence of his. So that's why he did that. He did it again for another movie for a different name, but I can't remember the name of the movie. But no, he wrote and directed this. I mean, I would assume a lot of people know who John Carpenter is, but I'm going to just go through his list of credits. Halloween, Assault on Precinct 13, which this movie feels a lot like. Do you know? I have a trivia question for you.
Okay,
but he's also done The Fog, Escape from New York. He wrote Eyes of Laura Mars. He did not direct it. That was directed by Irvin Kershner. He He's also done Christine, Big Trouble in Little China, which I love, and Village of the Damned, which is... What is his first movie he ever directed?
He ever directed?
Yeah, the first movie that he ever directed.
Oh, did we talk about this on the
maybe, but
last time?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
You don't know?
I mean, I can look at his IMDb and cheat, but I don't want to.
No, don't cheat. It's called Dark Star.
Okay. We did go over this. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Do you know that I didn't realize this, but because the writer of Dark Star who wrote it with him also wrote Alien, and a lot of stuff from Alien is actually pulled from Dark Star. Did you know that? And Dark Star is a comedy, sci-fi.
Because he was like, I can make this a horror. So
Probably.
Kind of changed it. That's kind of cool.
So fans of Alien out there, if you kind of want to see maybe where it came from a little bit, check out Dark Star, which if you can find it. It's only like 80 minutes.
I am now looking at on IMDb. It's rated G, which is interesting.
G for fun.
G for G's. This is interesting.
Cinematography by Gary Kibbe or Kib. I apologize. He passed away last year. He's done Double Dragon. He's also done Vampires, which is a movie we did last year, last Forgotten Horror. He's also done In the Mouth of Madness, which is coming up, or depending upon when you're listening to this, which is another episode. Mm-hmm. This is his first time being a director of photography or cinematographer on a movie. Composer is John Carpenter. Always composes a lot of his own stuff. He's actually, I think a couple of years ago, he was on tour with his stuff he's composed and all the music and stuff like that. Yeah. But he did this along with Alan Howarth. Carpenter composes most of his movies. Howarth has done The Dentist 1 and 2, Retribution, and he helps Carpenter with most of his films. Edited by Steve Merkovich, who's done, again, a lot of Carpenter movies, but Fire in the Sky, Con Air, Hardcore Henry, and Rings. And then amongst other things, and produced by Larry Franco, who's also produced The Rocketeer, Jumanji, and October Sky. Donald Pleasance is in this movie. Obviously, he plays the role of Priest. He doesn't have a name. He was in, and he's obviously in Halloween and Halloween 2. I know he's in a lot of horror films, but I'm gonna give you some of the older stuff he's in: The Great Escape, Fantastic Voyage, You Only Live Twice.
That's right. He's Blofeld.
Jameson Parker as Brian, the Mustached Man. He is from Simon and Simon, the TV show. He's also in the movie Jackals and Curse of the Crystal Eye. You probably
is Simon and Simon good?
It's 80s. So
I know it's very popular, but I've actually, that's one of the few like super popular 80 movies I never, or shows.
80 shows. Will you ever see Jake and the Fat Man? That was popular.
I've seen one episode.
Yeah, they're all the same. Okay. But yeah, it was very popular. So I've never seen a Simon and Simon episode. Maybe one day. Heart to Heart, Remington Steele.
Yep.
Yeah. Victor Wong as Professor Howard Barak. Yeah. He was in Big Trouble in Little China, obviously. Also in Tremors and The Last Emperor. Lisa Blount as Catherine. She's in An Officer and Gentleman. Great Balls of Fire. She's also Academy Award winner for The Accountant. She produced a live action short film. She passed away in 2010, which too young. And Pleasance passed away obviously in 1995. And Victor Wong passed away in 2001. Again, I'm feeling old because a lot of these people are passing away. Dennis Dunn as Walter. You know him obviously from Big Trouble in Little China, but he's also in Year of the Dragon and a TV show Midnight Caller. Susan Blanchard as Kelly. She's in They Live in Ruskies. I'm going through all the people that are in the inside the house.
I'm also noticing John Carpenter reuses a lot of his.
Well, he wrote one of the notes I have is that he wrote specifically the character of Priest, Barak, and Walter for Pleasance, Wong, and Dunn because he wanted to work with them again because he had a good experience with them. Yeah. I know that Big Trouble in Little China did not do well in the box office and it had a lot of studio. He had a lot of problems with studio. So when he did this movie, Prince of Darkness, it was independent. It was his first independent movie since Escape from New York because he didn't want to deal with, the
studio.
Yeah. And then they obviously Universal just picked it up.
To be fair, Big Trouble in Little China is super weird.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
For back then, that's like
Big Trouble in Little China is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I'm just thinking studios in the 80s are looking at going, what the hell is this? Whereas now studios would be like, all right.
And Carpenter's wheelhouse is obviously horror, no matter what type of horror.
Yeah.
So, no. That's his wheelhouse. So Big Trouble in Little China and even Starman are two movies that are decent, but they're not in his realm. So I think people don't really know how to approach them, I guess, maybe. I don't know. You had Anne-Marie Howard as Susan, who's in Shop Girl, and she's in the TV show, the soap opera Days of Our Lives. You had Anne Yen as Lisa, who's just done Love or Money and a couple other things.
I like that her IMDb profile picture is the vat of ooze.
Nice. Real nice. Ken Wright as Lomax. He's in Flight of the Intruder and Hanoi Hilton. Dirk Blocker as Mullins. I know you're a big Brooklyn Nine-Nine fan. So I know him there.
I didn't even notice it was him. I was like, Dirk Blocker's in this. Oh crap, he's the big guy.
You didn't notice him?
I didn't know that that's Dirk Blocker. Yeah.
He's also in Midnight Madness, which I love.
He's also in Poltergeist.
He's also in Poltergeist. I was just going to say that. Jesse Lawrence Ferguson plays Calder. He's in Darkman and Boys in the Hood. He passed away in 2019. Peter Jason as Dr. Paul Leahy. He's in the TV show Deadwood. He's in the movie Dreamscape. I always know him from as a coach in Arachnophobia. And then he's also in Mortal Kombat. Where is he in Mortal Kombat?
I saw that too. I have no idea. He's some kind of overseer or something like that, apparently.
You think he was in makeup then?
I think he's either in makeup in the background or he's a cutscene.
Maybe. And then obviously Alice Cooper as the awesome title of Street Schizo. Alice Cooper's obviously a performer, artist, a heavy metal rocker, whatever you're gonna do. He's also Freddy's dad in Freddy's Dead, then Film Nightmare, and he's in the Attic Expeditions, which I just put it in there because it was a movie, but I've never heard of it.
The Attic Expeditions.
Yeah, Expeditions. Yeah, I don't know. It's probably a horror film. All right, so where do you want to kick off? This movie was shot in 30 days. This movie is also the second film in a Carpenter's self-described apocalypse trilogy. Do you know what those are?
The second film?
This is the second film. So what would be the first one? Come on, a third.
It's got to be The Fog, right?
No, incorrect.
Oh, no, Escape from New York.
Incorrect. I thought you would figure this out. All right.
For Apocalypse? That's like Escape from New York, I figured would be one.
No.
All right, go for it.
One is The Thing. So see how the similarities, how they're trapped,
Okay, they're trapped.
The thing,
I mean, it's not an apocalypse because they're just in the art. Well, okay.
Yeah, but you don't know what happened. You don't know. It ends where you don't know if either of them are the thing.
Are the thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
2 is this movie, Prince of Darkness. And the third is what we're going to do in 3 weeks, In the Mouth of Madness.
Okay. I could see In the Mouth of Madness being apocalypse. Yeah. Okay.
It's a self-described apocalypse. It's his own thing. Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with The Thing being one, but that's fine.
Well, but the thing is because it ends, it's really an open ending because they're either both going to die freezing to death,
exactly.
or if one of them's the thing, that's not going to happen.
But it's still going to freeze over, and the world's not going to end unless the helicopter comes and picks them up.
Unless they go to another camp, and we have The Thing too. Electric Boogaloo.
So everything movie is just it moving through all the camps of the Arctic the same exact way.
Maybe, I don't know.
Everyone starts with the dog running in.
Somebody will remake that movie. Because my favorite, I know we're getting off topic and I apologize. We'll come back. My favorite is when I find out people think that thing is the original. They're like, oh, the original, the one from the 80s. And I'm like, incorrect. And it's just like, and I feel like a big nerd and I feel like a big old nerd.
It's actually from the 50s.
It's like, come on, man.
It's actually pretty good. I like the original.
No, I'm just saying it's not the original.
The original is called The Thing from Outer Space.
Do you like this film? Right off the bat, I'm going to ask you right now, right off the bat, do you like this movie?
It's okay.
Ooh, interesting. I actually like it.
I like the concept a lot better than I like the execution.
Okay. Well, we've talked about this before with Carpenter films. We've talked about this with John Carpenter.
Oh, absolutely.
He has
with
a
vampires,
style.
the same thing. Yeah.
I think that this movie is more him. I think that this movie is more in his wheelhouse and he does a really good job. Now, again, I am biased to movies that take place in one setting. Movies, like I said, this movie has a definite Assault on Precinct 13 vibe. And for those who haven't seen that, that's about these cops they're inside, they're trapped in their precinct and they have like I think it's either somebody has a hit on them or there's somebody they're trying to get out. They have a criminal.
I think they're trying to get him out.
Yeah. And basically the assault is all all the criminals are trying to get this guy out because he's going to pay like a certain amount of money to be freed from jail. So they have to keep these people from coming in. And that's basically what you have here with all the street schizo leading the bums who are keeping people who are they're possessed, but they're keeping people from leaving the church. So, I am biased to that kind of idea. So like in terms of that storytelling. But I actually think this movie, because I told you, I watched this movie Wednesday night. I went to bed. And then the next morning I wake up and I had I had bad dreams. Like it wasn't like I go screaming and crying, but I was just like, well, that wasn't fun. So maybe I shouldn't have watched it that late, but when am I else going to watch it? So I'm surprised it's good. Then we can get into it. I
really like the concept. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to like about this film, but I also think there's a lot of stuff kind of left off the table that I was like, I'd like to have seen more.
Okay. So I guess what's something that what part, when you first started watching the movie and you started getting into it, where did the first thing maybe, you know what I mean? When did that first come up?
The bad things?
Yeah, well, not the bad things, but stuff you thought were
the negatives?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's get to the negatives.
Misses. So the whole thing is this mix of science and horror, which we'll get into, which I really enjoy, but I don't think they really went into it enough. At some point, they kind of just go, okay, we're done with it.
Okay.
There is a concept, the concept of the dreams, I feel. There's this whole thing where there's these dreams that are signals coming toward you. Sent by tachyons from the future to try to give a warning or a suggestion or a roadmap, or we don't know what it is. And it really isn't explored.
Well, they tell you that you're getting messages from the future about what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you need to try to prevent it.
Yes.
Right. And that's supposed to be in 1999. That's when that.
Did they say 1999?
Yeah.
They say 1999.
Do
they end up?
That's what it's supposed to be before 2000, like that kind of thing.
So I know they say it's the 1990s, but I didn't know if they said a date.
Yeah.
But you don't really get enough of that, I think. I don't think that really goes anywhere other than they give you that little end scene. It's almost like that whole thing is set up as a sequel tease to a film we didn't actually get.
Well, Alice Cooper thinks this movie's rife for a sequel.
This movie is absolutely ripe for a sequel.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, you can't do it now.
Why not?
Well, because I don't know. I mean, who is somebody doing other than John Carpenter?
He could produce it. Maybe he can write it with you.
I know that.
With a couple of people.
I know that. What's his face? Is it Greg Nicotero? Is that the name of him?
That's the guy.
I know he wants to remake this movie.
See, I think a remake would be okay, but I think a sequel that doesn't necessarily need the original to work would also work really well.
I guess. Okay. But like, I like the idea of, I don't need, we've seen so many films where it deals with the end of the world. I mean, End of Days comes out in 1999 or 2000 because of that. I like this idea of this is the precursor to that. Like, I like the idea, like this is just a small group of people trying to stop something from starting.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Not stop. You know what I mean? Like, just kind of like, if they don't do it, then, you know, that was our first shot kind of thing. I like that idea. Maybe continuing that.
You can still do that. You don't have to make it a big thing. Yeah.
But I also like, I don't mind gore in films. It doesn't bother me in terms of just seeing it.
Well, good, this is forgotten horror. So that,
I get that. But I actually prefer this type of horror film. And I know we've talked about this before because my sensibilities are more of the 70s horror, the creepiness,
sure, the
unease, the just kind of like, so, and that's what this felt a lot. And there's some cool different effects in here and stuff like that, but it felt really just creepy. And, you know, I don't know if they redo this, I think they would dive more into
special effects and stuff.
Yeah. And I don't want that.
I do agree. That's one of the things I do really like about this film is it's got a real good Evil Dead kind of aesthetic. People trapped in the room. The gore is icky and gross and slimy, and the bugs and all that kind of stuff. And it's physical effects that are cheesy but still unnerving. You know, when Frank is outside after he's been stabbed to death by the shears,
the one that
try to fight off the lady,
the one that is a bad actor. Yes. This thing is bogus.
Are you really going back in there?
Yeah, I'm like, leave.
When he's like, hello, and he's basically Mr. Oogie Boogieing.
Yeah.
I mean, that effect is kind of cheesy, but still really off-putting because all the beetles are coming out of him and he falls apart. It's very reminiscent of Evil Dead 2 when Ash sees his girlfriend dancing outside the cabin. Like, it's still creepy, but you can tell it's fake, but it's still something about it. It's just kind of like...
I think what adds to that moment is that he stays on that moment a little longer than most people would. Like, he stays on the leg. He goes to the hand dropping. He goes to the leg. He stays there, and it's a good, like, minute and a half, maybe. I'm saying that's probably longer, but of this guy falling apart who's full of beetles. I think if they just...
quick
cut at the head flopping over, and then it would be like, oh, and then they move on. I think it would just kind of be like, eh. But I think because he stays there, it just kind of like adds to the creepiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good. But I do think that it seems like once things get started, I feel like the investigation should have kind of intertwined with some of the murders a little bit more. I feel like once the thing, the son of Satan, not
slime.
Satan, kind of possesses Susan first,
right? Which I laugh because it looks like she just opens her mouth, like when it shoots out, and she's like, ah! I'm just like, why are you opening your mouth, Susan?
I thought that for every single character.
No, a couple of times they're fighting, and then they're like, but like, and then she kisses him, Calder,
You
and
just hear, like,
which
the-
is good. Which is good. I like that. But yeah, when Susan first gets it, I was just like, she really wanted that. But it's fine. It's fine. But I hear what you're saying. Go ahead.
So I felt like the investigation and the murders should have kind of, or the possessions should have kind of intertwined a little bit better.
Okay.
Because I felt like once that stopped, it was cool to watch the murders and the possessions happen. But at the same time, I felt like the movie kind of slowed down at that point. I was really into this mix of science and religion. I thought that was a really cool concept that they were going at. It was actually almost Michael Crichton-esque if Michael Crichton did like a horror thing.
Okay.
And then it kind of just went into, all right, but now we're just going to murder people and kind of let's get this over with.
Well, because the dark figure, the Satan's son, or I guess daughter in this aspect, has to,
Bring daddy
come
back.
forth. Yeah.
And I like the fact that, they're extraterrestrials in that ooze. Like, it's Jesus was an alien.
That's what they're-
essentially all that
right.
kind of stuff. I thought it was like, that's kind of cool, especially for the 80s to kind of come out. Like, I'm surprised the studio didn't go, you can't, but you're saying
Well,
it's
they
independent.
bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you can't say Jesus is an alien in 1987. What are you doing?
Carpenter's like, I can do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah. His name is Xenolf.
Don't buy it.
And he's from Arc Life 5.
Don't buy it.
But I thought that was all really interesting because then, the portal to get Satan out isn't hell, or hell is actually,
It's another dimension.
it's another dimension.
Yeah.
Where it's an alien. I thought that was really cool.
Well, they were talking about how like they were here before. They were presupposing this, or they were reading it off the text that they had.
The hidden Bible.
Right, they were here before, and man figured out a way to expel them, or their protectors. Jesus
came down and kinda showed
protected them, and he was the one that got rid of them. But they made it so they wouldn't be able to come back unless there were certain things they had to do, which didn't make any sense. But I guess because they could just come back unless you trap them somewhere, which they didn't really go into. But that's fine.
Well, the whole thing, I think was Jesus wasn't going to come back, or his species wasn't going to come back until humanity was at a level where they can, like a level of science where they can communicate.
Right.
Which would also mean that they had the science ability to bring Satan back.
Right. But that's like that information that they kind of give it to you in this movie. I feel like I don't need any more in this film because that's not what this story's about. That's probably the next story would be. But then again, you're if you do a sequel, you're diving into sci-fi. You know what I mean? Like not like it'd be you couldn't really do another horror movie. It would be a different genre flip. It would be maybe sci-fi horror.
Right.
But now you have to go through this whole explanation of Jesus coming back from wherever, from the stars and from, from the planet, whatever.
I'm just picturing like literally like just biblical Jesus, but with basically little antenna horns.
Yeah, now you're basically doing like a Rick and Morty episode at this point. Absolutely. Which is fine, which honestly is fine. So yeah.
I can absolutely see them kind of ripping this off for sure.
Well, the idea for this movie, the idea for the whole screenplay is actually from a dream from Deborah Hill, who she described it to Carpenter that she had this dream of a dark figure exiting a church, and then he took that and then he wrote this.
So the idea is kind of based off that dream sequence.
She said, I had this dream about this. And
right.
He's like, oh, interesting. And then he just took it.
So the dream signal is kind of the basis for the movie then.
Yes.
Because that dream signal is that dark figure in the
emerging
doorway.
from the church. Yeah.
Which I did like that the transition from the dream at the beginning is like a cloaked figure. And then toward the end, you find out it's Catherine.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, that's neat.
Did you see how they shot that? How that whole dark figure emerging, how they recorded that? Like for the movie?
For when she shoots out?
No. When she comes out of the church, when they all come out of the church, the dark figure come out of the church, he shot that on video and then he played it on a TV and he recorded that on film. So what you're seeing is a video of that. So the person walking out recorded off of a TV screen for the film to give it that look.
That makes sense. Yeah. Although I'm surprised you don't get the refresh. That's pretty interesting.
You got some of it.
You definitely get the static.
You just have to pixels, you just have to match the frame rate. You just have to slow the frame rate down to 30. To match it, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's something you would do in post, but you wouldn't shoot. I mean, maybe you could change it in. I don't know. I don't know how old cameras, what they could do back then. But yeah, maybe.
But no, I did like that effect. Do you like that it was a weird, like a weird figure and then turns into Catherine? Or would you have rather had it Catherine the whole time, just kind of a little bit more obscured in the doorway? Because there's definitely some kind of larger cloaked figure in the first set of dreams, and then it's Catherine just in that final dream.
Well, I think because that's fine, but I don't think that she was the original dark figure. I think she became Catherine at the last one because she got pulled into the window. So you think
they changed the future by doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean,
I didn't know how I felt about it, but I was like, oh, that's
they don't really go into like, so you're assuming that Satan has basically possessed her so that he could come through in her body.
Either Satan or his son again.
I don't know. So they don't know. I think it's just a way to show her again, but that's also Brian's dream. Brian? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also his dream. So it's
so who knows?
Yeah. I think it's just a way to kind of like have like an ambiguous ending. I don't know if I'm sure Carpenter has some ideas, but I know. And I know that this movie is on, it actually had a 4K Blu-ray restoration. I know that there is a commentary track with him and I believe Leahy, because I think they became friends after this. Peter Jason, excuse me, not Leahy. Leahy is the role he played. Peter Jason, the actor, because Jason's in a lot of his films after this movie. So I think they have like a commentary on this. So I don't know if he brought it up, but yeah. Did you notice that the sun and crescent moon in the sky is basically just a nod to 2001: A Space Odyssey?
I thought that, but I didn't know if it was.
Yeah, that basically that's just kind of like, hey, 2001. Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, hey, 2001. Did you also notice that this is shot? So did you notice the distortion in the film?
Yeah.
Okay. So this was shot with a wide angle lens, but also in an anamorphic format, which is what gives you that distortion, which is kind of works for this film. I always like anamorphic films, but then Carpenter usually does shoot like that. But yeah, this is kind of like gives you that look.
Okay.
That's why it looks like that.
I liked it when they're in the church and things kind of go like creepy.
Okay.
But the beginning when they're like just kids in school, it kind of was like,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it does look good once they're like, especially in the cellar and stuff like that.
Right.
Which, by the way, that's a big cellar.
The cellar is actually the basement. They call it the church basement. Is actually a big rundown building that they shot in Long Beach, which was like famous for ballroom dancing and stuff like that for big events. But it was falling apart during production that they all had to sign waivers saying that if they got hurt, they wouldn't sue. So basically, they're shooting that whole thing is just they're in this like decrepit thing, which is awesome.
Yeah.
My question is, who's lighting all the candles when Pleasance, when Priest goes down there in the beginning?
Oh, the candles are
all lit. And it's like hundreds of candles. Are you telling me that old priest in the beginning who died with the key on his chest that was his job to deal with all them candles?
Yeah, he only left once a week.
I know that's a nitpick, but that was the first thing I said, like, who's lighting these candles?
It was his job to kind of just watch over the use. My question is, how does the church let that church become decrepit and kind of at risk of being demolished or whatever? I mean, you'd think you'd want to kind of take care of that church.
You think you just kind of the best thing I heard was Leahy, was the Peter Jason character, who said, like, we're just gonna have to pour concrete over this whole thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Like, why are we having a shrine to the slime? Just get rid of it.
I thought the same thing.
But then you don't have a movie, so that's fine.
My question is, how does it? Was there something I missed where they open it by accident?
No, it just opened. No, because she scans the thing. Susan, which again, well, maybe we'll get into this, but one of my notes is that I love how nobody knows who Susan is until they mention her job. Because there's like 3 or 4 instances where they're like, "You seen Susan?" And Susan's the one that gets the liquid in her mouth. And they're like, "Who?" And they're like, "The radiologist." "Oh, no, I haven't." It's like, that's how you know her. You don't know her name, but regardless of that, she's the one that does the scan of the device. And she's the one that tells him that the device is 7 million years old. It's been dated.
Right.
And it's got a locking mechanism, but it only unlocks from the inside. So, so she's like, "We can't open it." So obviously it opened itself.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that. I was like, who the fuck is open? That's fine then. Although it is a little bit also it does remind me of the ooze from Ghostbusters 2 a lot.
Oh no, it's more watery. I thought it was more watery.
It's more watery, but it's got that like kind of
Ghostbusters is like comedic. It's like it's all like,
but it makes you angry and gooey and comes out like, I don't know.
Nah, come on. This movie, I think one of the things that one of my big likes in this movie is the music, and that from the beginning of the movie, the music kicks off and it's just almost like a foreboding music and it's leading you to the end. Like it instantly makes you uneasy. It instantly makes you aware that something bad's happening. Mm-hmm. None of this is not good. And it just keeps going and it doesn't stop. And I just like the way the music is used in this film to kind of just give us that sense of just something's going to happen. This is not, it's all atmospheric. It's all dreadful. And I think that was on purpose because Carpenter said that it's meant to be this way because he was noticing that horror films were becoming derivative. So this is 87, 86 when he shot it. You're in the height of slasher films.
There's tons of them come out.
Which is funny because Carpenter kicked that off a little bit, or was in the beginning stages of that with Halloween. But regardless, even Halloween is not like that. Halloween is like atmospheric and dreadful. It's just obviously about a killer.
Yeah.
So I appreciate what he was trying to do. He was trying to do something different, which is probably why this was a more of an independent movie in terms of its production, and it wasn't a studio, because the studio would have just been all over them. They would have been like, we should have somebody become the bad guy. They would have been all about the studio interference. Would have been bad in this movie. It would have.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm glad that he shot this movie independently. He shot it in 30 days, which I always like when it's a short shoot, which makes sense because they're in one location. But I enjoy my whole point of the music is that I think it adds a lot to the movie rather than detract from it. And I like that.
I would completely agree, except for when Alice Cooper kills the first guy to his own music.
Well, that's yes.
That
so
is
Alice,
so gimmicky.
So because Alice Cooper, it's either the producer or the agent for Alice Cooper was also the agent for the producer or something like that. And they suggested it. And Alice Cooper wanted to come to the set to watch. He's like, hey, can I just watch the special effects? I just want to be there for the special effects stuff. And Carpenter was like, supposedly offered him a part. Mm-hmm. But then I heard that Cooper wanted to be in it. And Carpenter said, okay, but I want to use your bike, because that bike impalement is something Cooper does on his stage. So and that's the actual bike he uses during his stage show at that time when he would use it. So that death is something Alice Cooper did in his shows. So I guess, you're not going to put the music in?
I guess. Maybe it would mean more in the 80s back when that was a thing, but I'm watching it going, oh man, I get it. Alice Cooper's going to kill you. Do we need Alice Cooper's music to Alex?
Yes. Especially if he's using his own trick. He's using his own trick. All right. So we're on the score. So I wanted to bring this note up, and I'm going to read. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but maybe some of it. So Carpenter and Horwath completed the score in 4 to 5 weeks. And Carpenter's quote is, all my scores are basically improvised. He watches scenes on a TV set and then creates the themes on the spot while he's using like a 24 track recorder linked to the film in layers. And that's what he does. He's like, this is Carpenter's quote. There's 2 kinds of scoring in movies. One is the kind of underscore and minimalist idea, and one is Mickey Mousing. Have you ever heard this before?
I think I have.
Okay. So he's talking about like the minimalist is made famous. The latter, the Mickey Mousing, is made famous by Max Steiner from Casablanca, Gone with the Wind. And he goes on, for instance, in King Kong, every step that King Kong made is scored boom, 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 boom. Every emotion is scored. That's Mickey Mousing. His opinion. So he says, everything is scored so heavily that you haven't got a chance to miss anything. But he also adds that John Williams is the biggest, most famous Mickey Mouser of all time.
Just not
thoughts.
Absolutely true. John Williams, you come to see a movie that John Williams scores. Part of the reason you go to see the movie is because John Williams scored it.
Yes, agreed.
Even one of my favorite parts there's a huge documentary about George Lucas making The Phantom Menace called, I don't remember, it's the beginning of a saga or something like that. And the first thing he does is he's watching the very first rough cut of the film, and it's got no score or anything like that. And they're like watching the pod racing scene. And they're like, oh yeah, great job. Yeah. And then he goes, but none of this matters. None of the special effects matter because there's only one thing people are going to be doing, and that's listening to the music.
Yep.
And that's absolutely true because that's John Williams' score. I mean, look at Jurassic Park and stuff like that. I'm thinking of, when you say boom, 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 I'm thinking of the T-Rex score.
Oh, yeah.
With the high screech of the violin when he's chasing the Jeep and the mirror scene.
I absolutely agree with what Carpenter's saying here, but I absolutely love John Williams scores.
Oh,
you know
no.
what I mean?
Like,
so I like both.
Saying Mickey Mousing is very kind of taking the piss out of it. It's like basically knocking it. But yeah. Sometimes I agree with both. Mickey Mousing's good.
But I agree with both. You know what I mean?
Some movies don't need a John Carpenter film, a horror film does not need a big score.
Right.
Like that.
Agreed. I just wanted to bring that up. I thought,
But no, he's not wrong. He's saying it in like a very like mean way, but some movies need that. Some movies that's great.
So let's talk about Kelly. Kelly was the one that has the mark that she is going to be the vessel for the son of Satan.
Bruise.
I know.
That happens to look like a cross with a hook on.
Now that's why that's Kelly's purpose in the whole overall story, to get the son of Satan or the offspring of Satan to come in. Okay. My question to you is, what the hell is she doing other than that? She shows up. She's part of the graduate team. She shows up and she does nothing but complain and go from room to room. And like, I'm like, are you doing anything? Anything? Susan made a scan of the slime. Like Anne is what is she doing? She's translating the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. All these other guys are setting up equipment. They've got stuff.
Catherine's a physicist. Yeah.
What are you doing, Kelly? Nothing. You do nothing. Like I was just like, what the hell is she here doing? I'm gonna go. Oh, it's been so long. I gotta go take a nap.
Is she the one that's super married, or was that
no? Who is
that? Lisa? Is that Lisa? Oh no, not Lisa. There's the one where like he's like, hey, and then she goes, oh no, and then she runs away. That might be Susan actually.
Are you talking about Walter, Dennis Dunn's character? Where he's hitting on everyone. He tells her, "Hey, you could pass for Asian." When he's like racist to her.
I mean, Walter's got his own thing. But it's when.
Well, I read a note that they said in this movie that Walter's actually gay, and like it's wrong because I'm like, no way. He like Brian makes a gay joke to him, like saying like, "Oh, what's his name?" And he gets all upset. I'm like, why? He's mad. I don't understand.
I mean,
where
he does use the line about the bruises and about like breaking out, and he goes, "I used to break out when I was 12. My doctor said it was homosexual panic."
Yes, I remember that. Yeah, but and then maybe he is gay in this movie. I didn't get that though.
No, I didn't really get that.
Maybe because he's overly
protective of like
no. When he's hitting on him, when he's overly like forward with that. Maybe I guess I didn't get that
hide stuff.
I'd have to watch it again to really think. Like I think they're just jokes they're trying to pass off. I don't think he's. But I mean. Like, I don't know. I'd have to check that again.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know that note.
Whatever.
Care. Interesting. But who's the one that's married?
I think I don't know if it was Lisa. It might have been Susan.
Well, you know what? Honestly, it probably is because I mean Kelly.
Because Calder goes like, "What's her deal? She's married, super married."
Oh, okay.
But we never really hear any, like, there's nothing about that. There's nothing about the wedding ring. There's nothing about like, I'm not going to be with my husband or like, there's nothing like that line is so throwaway. It's so pointless just to give Calder or Frank an emotion, which is creep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
I thought Brian was a little creepy in the beginning.
Brian's his whole sex. I guess I'm just sexist.
I love that. His sexist joke fail. It's like, nice job, mustache. Nice job.
The whole thing I'm thinking like, you're done. Confirmed sexist, proud of it.
Yeah, I didn't get that. And like he was like not creeping on her, but he obviously liked her and he was trying to like accidentally bump into her. But it's like you're in the same class, so why are you trying to accidentally bump into her? You're in the same class. You're in the same class.
It took Satan to get me with you.
You can't even notice there's all these ants on your TV.
I thought that was weird. I mean, I get it because they make the connection later with ants.
Yeah, I got
But it's still like gross. Clean up your apartment, man.
I also laugh because after the sexist joke, he's like, "Hey, can we start over?" And he's like, "Hey, can we just get a cup of coffee?" And the next scene, like they're in bed. I'm like, wow, that escalated quickly.
Coffee. There's something else I might need from you too.
I know,
Dick.
Jeez.
There's also a scene. Something else about the beginning is. He's just got his books at the beginning. He goes to class. Yeah. Class gets out. He comes out. He's got a blazer.
Nice. I don't know, man. Simon and Simon.
Ew, left this on the chair right there. I guess I should probably take this to Lost and Found. Oh no, it fits so perfect. It's like, where did he get this coat?
At the end of the movie, he wakes up from the dream. And he rolls over and he's got no shirt on. And all I'm thinking, like, does he have inverted nipples? Like, they're like super, like, they're like, I'm like, are those, what is going on there?
Come on, put some ice cubes on those bad boys. You're on camera.
We'll get back to the other stuff.
Well, right now, let's focus on those.
No. I wanted the water effect. Did you like the hands through the mirror? Do you know how they did it? And do you like it?
I like it. I don't know how they did it.
I've got that for you.
Well, bring it. Shoot.
So it's obviously mercury. So it's a prosthetic hand because mercury's lethal.
I thought it was mercury, and I was like, it can't be mercury. That's a lot of mercury.
When the hand goes in, it's mercury, and then obviously when they're inside the water, that's just an uncovered pool. That's a covered pool that they shot in, which is a good. It's a really good effect. All of it's good effect, but the mercury was drained from their on-set dollies and cranes. They used it and then put it back into the dollies and cranes so they can use the dollies and cranes. I love that note.
That's pretty cool.
I love that note. But I guess, so obviously mercury is toxic. So you have to, so the hand's prosthetic, which when you notice when she's putting her hand in through, her watch doesn't fit because it's
I noticed, but it was a melty hand. So I was like,
yeah, I think it works, but it's, you can't put a person's hand on it. So so that's how they did that. And they pull it back. So quick note here, for people who maybe perhaps read the Bible, the left side of is considered evil. So like, that's why she's using her left hand to grab the left hand of Satan to bring him in, like that kind of stuff. When Calder goes to the window to touch the mirror, he's touching it with his left hand. So it's just a little Bible stuff there for you.
I'm left-handed.
That's why left-handers aren't trusted. But yeah, no, I love that note of the mercury. I just love that. Drain it. Let's use it. I'm like, yes. I don't know.
Where are we
Filmmakers out there probably love it too.
You got cameras, you got cranes. Let's go.
Oh, I love that note. I love the fact that they did that. I think that's fantastic. I mean, I'm sure it's not something that's widely done anymore. We can't do that, but I love that they did that. So I was all for that.
What did you think of Donald Pleasance's character?
Oh, I mean, Donald Pleasance is a little older in this movie, so I know there's probably not a lot he can do. And I know that I read some notes were like, he couldn't drive. He was afraid to drive. He got lost one time for the first day. I said he got lost, so he had to have someone drive him back and forth. And I know that Peter Jason was talking about how he drove him home one night and he was so scared driving because he just was scared being in the car. And Peter's like, it's the funniest thing I've ever, it's the greatest experience of my life. But so I like seeing Donald Pleasance again in a John Carpenter film is great. So I don't have a problem with it. He's, I'm sure he was limited to what he could do. What didn't you like about him?
I just felt like he was I've got to get scientists. We've got to let the world know, which I do like that part of the story. I like the fact that the homeless people are trying to kill the scientists because the whole point is it gets more power. More people don't believe. Well, I think they were keeping them from leaving because he was coming through to get the vessel and all that stuff. That's why they were not letting them leave. All right. Although they could have just used a homeless guy as a vessel. Well, they don't know. Well, yeah, I guess. I don't know. But he was so gung-ho about getting the scientists to prove that Satan is real, to do like the job that the church didn't, to finish the job. To make it right, yeah. And then as the film goes on, he just becomes this giant pussy. Well, he's not brave. Yeah, I guess. Well, he does, but he does at the end. He redeems himself when he throws the axe into the mirror to break it. That's the whole point of that, which I love because the look on his face when he does it, and Brian screams because Catherine's clearly locked in there. And his look on his face is like, oops. Should I have waited a minute? Sorry about that. That shot when Catherine is getting dragged. It's great. Love that shot. A great shot under the water. With her mouth open. Yeah. Yeah. Great shot. Oof. I think she was Lisa Blount the actress was terrified of that because she didn't know she could breathe and underwater that long and all that stuff. And I think Carver had to apologize to her after, but yeah, I know she shot came out looking. It looks fantastic. No, the whole stuff with the mirror, I'm going to get on my practical effects high horse here again. And like that whole shot with the mercury, with the water, it's all practical effects. Right. And I'm sorry, but it is amazing. It looks amazing. It did such a great job. And if that was digital, it would just feel digital. And it would be like, okay, I'd have no connection to it, but I have a connection to this imagery because I know it's real. And I love that about that. That's what I love about older films that just, some stuff doesn't work. Some stuff they want to do stuff. They're too ambitious and the practical effects they betray it a little bit, but you're kind of like, he tried. But when it works, it's fantastic. And it's just, that's to me is filmmaking. I understand the post-production stuff. I understand CGI. It's cheap to do. I get all that. And I obviously not going to kick that out of the window if someone's like, we're going to do it this way. I get that. I get the compromise. But if you don't have to compromise and you could do practical, do practical. Absolutely. I just think it makes your film timeless. It makes your film just infinitely better. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too anti CGI, but I love practical effects. I love the shot of Satan's hand coming to grab Kelly's gross deformed hand. Yes. Or the son of Satan, I guess at that point. Yeah. Like when you see that hand come out of the darkness and you see that it's like the classic pointy, like almost like claw, like classic Satan. You're like, oh, shit. It's such a good shot. It's so like, oh man, yes. Mm-hmm. Like that's what the whole movie was leading up to. I think that's really, really cool and well done.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the other thing you get with that you wouldn't get with digital or anything or painted is the grime in the water toward the window.
Yes.
You got those particles, make it more realistic because it's actually like underwater. It's actually there.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
Right.
Because if you did have digital or something else, you wouldn't have those particles. You would just have white light hand.
Yeah.
It'd be so clean. It would
be like, and I love this movie, but it would be like Get Out when he goes into the.
I was going to say Get Out, and
he's floating down. It would be like that, but that's for that movie. That's more stylized, and that works for that film.
So it's okay, yeah.
Absolutely. But that's what you would get for this.
Yes,
absolutely.
But this is supposed to be another dimension. It's supposed to be another planet. It's supposed to be real.
Yeah.
So that it works that way.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a couple notes here from film critics.
Go for it.
So film critic John Kenneth Muir suggests that Prince of Darkness serves as a parable for the AIDS epidemic that was at its peak during the time this film was made. Throughout the film, demonic possession is depicted as something that is transmitted like a communicable disease via fluid passed between people. Muir goes on to note a number of references to homosexuality in the film, namely regarding the character of Walter, which we talked about, who makes several statements implying that he is gay, although he briefly flirted with Lisa, one of the female characters. In particular, Muir notes a sequence in which Walter, attacked by a number of possessed women while trapped inside a closet, emerges and flees. In addition to this, Muir writes that the film pointedly asks some rather questions about human nature, our existence, and the universe at large. I will give you the stuff with Walter as okay. I can see that, but a parable for the AIDS epidemic, I don't know. I don't know if that's what Carpenter's doing here. I just don't see that.
I can see him doing like the ooze in the mouth to be like a communicable disease, because that's kind of like maybe not to be like, oh, it's supposed to be a parable about the AIDS epidemic so much as that's people's fear at the time and to play on that.
I guess, but like that's also about how evil touches evil.
No, absolutely. It's just gross. It's just something people are kind of like icky about at that point. Like that's just a means to an end to tell the story.
Yeah.
The Walter, the lines about being a homosexual, sure. But the whole, he's in a closet as the women are getting, I think that's too far.
I don't know.
I think that's just, you needed a character to watch Kelly be pregnant and turn into the monster.
Sure.
And then he needed to almost die just for filmmaking's sake, just to be a tense scene.
Yeah. And
I think that's reading too much into that.
I agree. And I also agree with the fact that I could also see someone saying like, if Carpenter came out and said something like, well, we could only do so much because obviously it would not have, people wouldn't have bought it if we were so overt with what we were trying to say.
Right.
So, but yeah, I a lot of times people read into stuff that they shouldn't. But
that's what I think. That's mostly
my thing about Walter, and I don't even think that is a closet. That's supposed to be a bathroom or something. Wherever he's in, maybe it is a closet. But when he yells to them to dig him out, it's like, you could dig your own.
I was thinking the whole
other way too, man.
Like now he's hitting it. It's like you could have been helping the whole time.
And then I didn't understand the fact that there's bricks between the wall. What? How is that? Who made? Yeah, exactly. Well,
it should just be drywall. It should just be.
It's also an older church, so maybe that's another reason why. Maybe that's why that's. But regardless of that, one more other note I wanted to, because I like this movie, but I wanted to. This is from Richard Harrington of the Washington Post back in the day. At one point, Pleasance vows that it's a secret that can no longer be kept. Here's another: the Prince of Darkness stinks. It too deserves to be shut up in a canister for 7 million years. Calm down, Harrington. Jeez. So if you want to go after people who hate this movie, Richard Harrington of the Washington Post. I don't even know if he's still alive.
Doesn't like horror movies, so
I mean, it's critics are funny because people are always like, so and so liked it. That's why I'm gonna. Critics, they have opinions, but their opinions are also biased because of just you can't help it. You've watched so many films that you have an expectation. You have an unknown self-conscious expectation of what you want walking into the theater. It's very difficult to walk in open booked and being like not ignoring everything. You're going to see John Carpenter's Return to Horror because he's, like we talked about, he did Big Trouble and Little China and Starman before this. Your Return to Horror, you're immediately thinking Halloween. That's what you're immediately thinking. So that is already in your head when you walk into the theater. So it's just, I like critics, but sometimes I'm just like, you're biased. You have to admit that at least you're biased, but whatever. They serve a purpose and that's fine.
They just be hating.
Technically, Butler, we could be considered critics or reviewers, which I don't like to be.
And you just be hating.
I'm not be hating. These are my personal opinions.
So the one thing the movie doesn't really explain at the end, like they all get out.
Yeah. Well, Not all of them.
Well, not the dead guys. It's not really explained exactly what happened to the Bible, the book.
The book. Okay. Well, it's probably still there.
Right. So the book is there that proves that all this stuff is kind of real. It's in some way.
Yeah.
Your priest has gotten taken to the loony bin, which is weird. He's the only one. The cops show up and he's like, I killed the devil. And everyone else is just like,
he's going to a loony bin? Is that what happening?
Yeah. He's all tied up on the hospital bed.
I figured he was they just secured him because he was injured.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, they really strapped him down.
You strap him down so they don't move and injures himself more. No, he's going to the hospital. He got crushed by his furnace.
But the other thing they don't really explain is how Calder kind of is able to fight. He definitely fights the infection more than anybody else.
Well, no, he can't die. They can't die.
Right.
So he tries to kill himself.
Yep.
And he can't. I think he's definitely one. He's fighting. Because he's religious.
He is the most religious one, but he took off his cross.
Exactly. Like he's super religious. And then I watched the scene where he's sitting down, he's taking off a cross. And I go, why are you doing that, man? That's not something you should be to keep it on. But yeah, no, he's trying to fight it.
Yeah.
And I guess like the Dr. Leahy character, he's in pain. Like, so basically I think Carpenter said to them, come back and give me something that you want to do with your character. I guess he listens to when they want to add stuff. If it works, he's okay. He'll do it. So I think Peter Jason's thing was that the actor was that Leahy is in pain being brought back from the dead. So that was why he is screaming.
When he comes back, like,
he's upset. He's angry. Right. He's in pain. And I guess Calder is just fighting it. He doesn't want it. Yeah. So I think there's different.
I think that works because it's really creepy the way he's laughing and crying at the same time.
Yeah.
But I thought that was kind of interesting, but also kind of what I don't like about it is your female characters that get possessed are just completely, they're not fighting it. They're just completely like too weak.
We've talked about this before.
We've talked
about this before, the way female characters are written back in the day, even now.
Yeah.
But it's, what are you going to do? I mean, it is what it is.
In my reboot they will be stronger characters.
Well, they should. I mean, you could say. I mean, look at the. You could talk about what's his face, Etchinson, who's the first one that dies with the bicycle. You know,
right?
He's weak. He's a weak character. You know, he's a little dweeb. The guy that gets, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy that gets killed out on the by the with the knife, with the scissor.
In fact, I hate that scene because he doesn't fight her off
because she's moving fast.
He's so concerned with the bugs.
Yeah, I think
it's just like the stabbing first, dude.
Well, but I think it's also like you're confused. You're in a confused state.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, you don't understand. And I think the way they did her running was that they just had her stand in place. And they had the brick truck driving by her. So it was just like, so the front was moving and she wasn't. So that's why it looks like that, which I think is fantastic. But yeah, so I like he's a character that's weak because he wants to get out of there. He doesn't want to stick it out.
Right.
You know, what's funny is when Walter gets out of the window, I thought he was running away. Like he was like, I'm out of here.
Yeah,
and he's going to get
him in the cops.
Yeah, he's going to, I was just like, oh man, I actually want you to just run away.
I'm done.
You know, so, I mean, but he's a weak character too, because he's like, you know, all this bravado and then he gets trapped and he's screaming and he's like, you know, he's flipping out inside that closet. All right. So as we always like to do, why do you think, is this movie forgotten? How about that? How about instead of why do you think it's forgotten? Well, number one, is it forgotten? And if so, why?
Yes, it is forgotten because the reason it's on this list is because I never saw it. It was one of the first movies on the show where we were talking about something. It wasn't even a forgotten horror episode. And you mentioned Prince of Darkness and I was like, what the hell is that? And you were like, what? You've never seen this?
No.
I think that it gets lost in John Carpenter's other movies.
Yes.
I mean,
well,
we're sitting here going Halloween, Starman, Little China.
Well, I was going to ask you this. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Big Trouble in Little China. I think it gets lost in his, even Assault on Precinct 13 and The Thing. It gets lost in his pantheon of other films.
Well, I would say you could flip flop back and forth between The Thing and Halloween as being 1 and 2, right?
Sure.
What would be 3?
Probably. I'd say Assault on Precinct 13 just because it actually had a remake.
What about Escape from New York?
I would probably say, probably Escape from New York because that is kind of something that people know.
Could you put this in his top 5?
No.
Really?
Well, you got The Thing, you got Halloween, That's how I rate them. I really like
it's just fine. Just you don't have to do.
You got Assault on Precinct 13. You got Escape from New York. You got Big Trouble in Little China, at least for me.
Yeah.
And then I would say probably this.
I like Assault on Precinct 13, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I don't know if it's just because it's not. I don't know what it is. Maybe because it's not horror. You know what I mean?
That's another one where I think the concept is better than the execution.
I could make an argument for this being in this top 5, but I'm not gonna fight if someone's like, no, this. I mean, that's fine. Like I know he did They Live. I know Escape from New York, Escape from LA.
I have to watch They Live again. I haven't seen that in since freshman year. It's
good. The from what I remember, I've only seen it a couple of times. Its message is very poignant and significant.
Right.
Especially now, but it's still Roddy Piper running around beating crap out of people. So, I mean, it's got a great line, I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. I'm fresh out of bubblegum. Yeah. I get it. It's got moments that are really fun. But I mean, Big Trouble's the same way, but I love Big Trouble, but I get it. I know if people don't get into it. That's fine. Yeah. I can make a case. This movie feels to me like it's Carpenter at his most confident in making a film and just knowing what he wants to do and being allowed to do it. You know what I mean? And just get, you know what I mean? I like with vampires, I had a little bit more because we talked about vampires last year for Forgotten Horror. There was some stuff I wasn't a huge fan of, but it really wasn't. We talked about that. Carpenter has a specific style. And I don't think that film matched what he could do, his strengths in that style.
Right. Yeah.
This film matches his strengths. And
Vampire's very studio. It's a very studio
of course
film.
Yes, and I'm sure he had issues, but he said he had fun doing it. So
right.
And I've never. What's funny is I have not seen his last film, which was The Ward, which was in 2010.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and but I really, upon watching this again, I really just like this film that much more. I mean, we went through it. There's stuff. Yes, I'm not gonna, nothing's perfect, but I just dug the music. I dug the uneasiness of this movie. And I think I just felt like he was just, I was watching a movie that was done by Carpenter who was being left alone and he was being able to do what he needed to do and wanted to do. And I appreciated that. And that's, but why it's forgotten. I think Carpenter films are it's a very unique subsect of the horror genre. I mean, you think people talk about horror films, not a lot of people, they'll say Halloween, but not a lot of people will talk about Carpenter in terms of they love The Thing, they love Halloween, but they don't ever talk about John Carpenter.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, he is a big part of these movies and why they're popular. And I don't understand why I'm starting to defend them, but that's all I'm saying.
He also tends to make, like, Prince of Darkness, the story behind it is a much more intelligent kind of concept. The same with The Thing, the same with even the very first Halloween. Your slasher killer in Halloween, Michael Myers has a backstory. He's got a reason. He's got a psychological profile.
Right.
Which, Freddy's cool and all. I love Freddy. He's fun. But he's just some pedophile that got burned alive.
Yep.
Michael Myers has this whole backstory, this whole buildup on how somebody becomes that. Yeah. Prince of Darkness is trying to combine science and religion in a very intelligent way, I feel, for a slasher horror kind of Evil Dead type movie. And the concepts of The Thing and the themes around it are very interesting and unique. And I think that's something Carpenter brings to the table that aren't really appreciated, especially at a time when you're watching movies like Prom Night, movies like Sleepaway Camp, all those kind of slasher horror, blood fests.
Yeah.
It's smart.
Yeah, and he did Halloween 2 because he got ripped off for Halloween. He didn't make enough money, so he did Halloween 2 for the money. I get that. And Halloween, the whole franchise of Halloween completely has changed into different things. It's a different type of film than what he originally started off with.
Sure.
I know he's a producer. I know he's a producer on all of them, and that's great. He's making money off of them, and he's obviously the newer ones that are coming out. I mean, even like the one they just did, the re-one they just did. It's like, I know it feels like Halloween, the first one, but it's not. You know what I mean? It's just not.
I really like that one.
I'm not saying I'm not saying it's not good.
Well, it's got the John Carpenter style in that it's intelligent and deals with an actual theme.
But again, it's not Halloween.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that. It's not the original. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And as Sidney Prescott says in Scream 4, you don't fuck with the original.
Well, like you say, it's the progenitor of all of them.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I do think that the new remake kind of did find his kind of intelligent horror and bring it back. Whereas Halloween Resurrection and Halloween H2O are garbage films.
See, I know that, and now we're going on a tangent, but I know that in the new Halloween, like Jamie Lee Curtis is almost becoming the Loomis character, whereas she's crazy, nobody believes her. You know what I mean?
But she's also dealing with
not.
post-traumatic stress.
No, I
and she's
get
a
that.
survivor, yeah.
But I'm saying I would have liked her to go further down the Loomis wormhole.
Oh, you wanted to go?
Why not? I mean, if you want to mimic the first one, then the Jamie Lee Curtis character should have you could still do the PTSD and all that stuff, but
Right.
it should still have more of a Loomis vibe to her.
Well, maybe you'll get that with the second and third ones.
We'll see. I don't know. I always remember the death in the first one when the woman gets killed and she acts like she's surprised she got killed. When she's in the window, she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "What? What is that? What is that emotion?" That is forever burned in my soul. And
So that would ruin the movie for you?
no, it's just like you're watching it and it's such a horrifying scene, and then she gets stabbed through the head or through the throat, and she's just got this look on her face like, "Oh, this happened."
That's spicy.
And it bothered me. It just bothered me. Maybe I need to watch it again, but it's been a while since I've seen it. But anyways, Prince of Darkness, please check it out.
You can rent it everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not free, although if you go on Shudder.com, it's listed as a
Well,
free
here's the
Shudder.
thing. You're listening to this episode in October. It's a horror film. It's out there.
Yes.
It'll be readily available for you to get. But
you have to buy it.
if you like John Carpenter, or if you like some of the films we talked about with John Carpenter you've never seen, Prince of Darkness, I recommend it. If you like horror films, I recommend it. You definitely should watch it regardless of what we just said.
It's really cool. It's unique. I think we mostly talked positive about it.
Yeah, but it's really nice. But like, it's a movie from 1987 that doesn't get a lot of play.
I think if you like slashers, it works. If you like movies like Evil Dead, it works because there aren't a lot of movies like that.
And you like movies like siege movies where people are trapped in one location. It's a great film. It's a great film for inspiration if you're looking to do something.
It's not a horror slasher, and it's also not a zombie movie.
Yeah, they call it zombified killers. Like, they're just possessed. They're not zombified.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. They're back from the dead, but we're running that definition a little long here.
Yeah. It's really its own unique kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. So that's it. Prince of Darkness. Check it out. Mike, where can they find us?
We're the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Right now, we're the Forgotten Horror Podcast, but you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. We have a back catalog of over 100 films, including 2 or 3 other seasons of Forgotten Horror. So check those out. We're also available wherever you get where all your social medias. Go check us out. We post every week, and let us know what you thought of Prince of Darkness.
Oh yeah, no, I'd love to hear some thoughts, which we never get, so that's fine. So next week we're actually going to Alaska. Is that where this place is? In Alaska?
I believe so. Yeah,
we're going to watch some vampires having some food. 30 Days a Night, starring my wife's not so favorite actor. What's his name?
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah. She doesn't like him.
Aww.
And I've tried to correct her that he is a good guy, but she doesn't want to hear it. So, Josh, if you're listening to this, I apologize. But I've actually ever since I know he quote unquote left Hollywood and he's done like a lot of independent stuff, like when Rocky, I've tried to tell you to watch and stuff like that. Like, I've liked the stuff he's done, and this is one of them. So, I've actually been like, I never got into Penny Dreadful.
He's good in Penny Dreadful.
Yeah, I know. And I've always wanted to go back, but I never got into it. But so 30 Days a Night, that came out in 2007. So we're jumping up 20 years.
Wow, 2007 now.
You're old.
Damn.
Right.
I need my Metamucil. Excuse me.
All right. So that's next week. As always, thanks for listening. I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema, or perhaps now, as Butler keeps calling it, Forgotten Horror.
Keep it spooky, y'all.
There it is.
That's right. It's back.
only for 3 more episodes.
Cue the music.